Welcome to Be Well. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Jonathan from your Y, and I'm truly grateful to have the opportunity to bring you these conversations with leaders in their field related to living mindfully. As your moderator, I come to you with 30 plus years experience in mindfulness, wellness, and mental health. It looks like Armando has his slide up right now, so hopefully he can come in. There we are. Welcome, Armando.
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for joining us. This is Armando Cepeda. He's our guest today. Our topic will be music and healing. I think we have an exciting, stimulating conversation coming forward. And with all of these conversations, the intention is that we take this moment to breathe deeply, to choose actively to be in this moment, just taking in what is present in front of us. So I'm encouraging you to join the chat if you choose, comment, ask any questions that you may choose to learn more about this topic. So let's start off. Music and healing. Armando, your background, let me see. Bachelor of Science in Audio Production, an outstanding graduate with honors. I didn't know that, Armando. That's great to hear. That's from the Art Institute of California, a graduate with honors as well from the Armed Forces School of Music, a graduate with honors and scholarship from the Musicians Institute of Los Angeles. A lot of different organizations and associations that Armando is a part of. A very prolific client list of achievements that he has out in the community. We're fortunate to have him here with us today. So let's start with music. It's a universal language. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me today. I'm so excited to be here with you all, and hope this helps. So music is universal. It's innate in all of us, I think, for a number of reasons. Number one, because we have a heartbeat, because we breathe. And this is a really connected to what I think is the pulse in music as it relates to music. It relates to rhythm. And I think that's the connection. It's really always awesome to be in another country or another part of the world and to feel, maybe you may not understand the language, but you can feel the vibration, the music, the groove, the energy, and you can share that. It's a really something that I think that all of us connect with, and it's a point of connection, and it makes music the universal language.
I love that. And you actually, when we were talking yesterday, you shared a wonderful story from your travels as a musician. And if you would, share that, because it's a great example of how it is truly a universal language.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I had the pleasure of being in the U.S. Navy band for 6 years, and I lived in Japan while serving. But on one of the trips we took to Thailand, we were doing a PR, basically a PR event where we were going and doing some goodwill. Some of the sailors from one of the ships were painting the school and help fixing the school wall. This is for some children, maybe elementary school children, in a remote part of Thailand. I want to say it was near Chiang Mai. But really cool thing was that while the sailors were doing all that, helping them with the infrastructure of the school, we were secretly setting up a concert for them as the school day would end.
Very cool.
And that's what we do in the Navy. We look good, look good in uniform and play American music and spread goodwill around the world. So that's one of our missions. So when the school day ended, the bell rang and hundreds of kids, exploded out of the school. And then they were just stopped when they saw this American band in uniform playing American rock and roll, American music, pop music. And it was just the coolest feeling ever as a performer, because it was like that Peanuts, in Peanuts when all the kids dance and they're just in their own little groove, their own little zone. But the really cool thing is the connection. They didn't understand the language, obviously, but they just loved they responded so pure and so rejoiceful. They're just rejoicing in the music and the sounds that they were hearing. And I don't think they knew any of the lyrics, like I said, or any of the music. Maybe they did, but it was just a really cool feeling. And that's what really brought it home for me, that it is the universal language. And that's the point where we all can connect is through sound and music. It's always been something really special to me.
That's really beautiful. I want to understand and give you a chance to share a little bit about how you found this vocation, this profession, how you were moved in such a way.
Oh, absolutely. Well, my father is an artist, visual artist. So there was always art around the house. You know, he did it professionally. And my mother is more of is a nurse by trade. So, but she had a really interesting choice of music she would play around the house. Really feel good, warm grooves like these Motown, pop, funky music. She loved to dance, of course. And my dad would be more of the intellectual and play this really cool jazz music and classical music, and there was that combination that really got my brain engaged in sound as a kid. Just being joyful and hearing all this stuff, responding to it is my first connection. But then I started singing professionally in little performance groups as a kid at like 7 and 8 years old, and then but it was kind of just something I just did for fun and was performing it and all that. But then around like 12, 13, I really got the bug, and I made a decision that I want to learn how to play music. After I saw my uncle like light up our family Christmas gathering one year and played Beatles songs, and the whole family was singing and having a great time, and I love that feeling and energy. And so, you know, taking it further and further, it's just it's everything. It's a passion for me. It's you know, my livelihood, and it's just something that I feel very fortunate to be able to connect with people about. And
I
yeah.
love that. It's interesting. There's a lot of similarities between your family and mine and the exposure, because both my parents were artists. And I can remember my father loved Barbra Streisand and a lot of her music. And always, my mom, I can still remember the radio station. She always listened to KKHI up in San Francisco. There was always classical music on in the house, and it provided this calm energy throughout the day. You know, with 6 kids running around, it was probably very helpful for her.
Yes.
So Amanda, let's break it down. Music is sound. So what does that mean? What is it? What share it? Well, sound.
Yeah, so I think that, you know, the easy answer is that, you know, it's related to our mood. All these different sounds we're hearing, these different rhythms we're hearing, these different melodies we're hearing, because that's the basic nuts and bolts of music, right? Rhythm, melody, harmony, those are the basics. But the way that we get there, the brain is really unique. The brain is always looking for patterns. The brain is always taking in all this information and trying to organize it and say, okay, how does this connect? How is this working? And then once it finds a pattern, like, oh, it latches on. Ah, okay. I'll give you a little example. So
Please.
here's a drum that I have here. So if I play something like, it really means nothing. It's like 2 little series of pulses or notes, if you will. But if I do that over time, a little groove starts to form and your brain catches on and it wants to lock in. You know, things like that can become a little like hypnotic, like if they're just over time, and it creates this feeling and this energy. And then you start layering on top of it, and then we're off to the races. We have a little bit of a rhythm, and then we add a little bit of some harmony and a melody on top, and we got a little song. And then how we throw in the lyrics and how, you know, all that really cool. It's a beautiful medium, a beautiful art form. So,
But I really like that because I think about, just as you're speaking to, our innate ability, because as you started that rhythm, then as you stopped, I was still kind of carrying that on. And our brain, I'm aware of, our brain distinguishes between just noise, like the plane flying over, and it distinguishes between that and music. It picks up on that particular vibration.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how those vibrations, that energy, that vibration, I was sharing with you when we were talking earlier about chakra bowls and how you play the chakra bowls, and different sounds are utilized to elicit certain experiences and some healing and some calm.
Right.
If you will, share a little bit about the understanding of how that comes through.
Yeah, well, you know, that goes from the music is a byproduct of sound, right? It's a collection of sounds kind of shaped and framed to become music. Sound exists whether it's music or not. You can hear the birds, as a musician, you hear the birds chirp and you hear a little, oh, that's a cool little pulse. or the wind chimes is the best, right? So you get some random wind chimes that have some really cool pitches, ding, 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 and you can almost hear melodies if you're in tune enough. If you're thinking, oh, that's a cool little idea. That's happened to me plenty as a musician. You know, our brains are kind of wired that way. You can hear the sound, and even when I'm in my car and if the signal turn light is on, I'm I'm like making music out of even that type of stuff, right? But underneath the hood, you know, it's energy, like you said. It's frequency and vibration, and I always feel that the nuts and bolts, like I said, the rhythm, the melody, and the harmony. The rhythm is really the first place to start and understand. It's a series of pulses, right? There has to be one event, just like I played on the drum. That one event happens again, and then it becomes a pulse. But if you think about that and you speed up that pulse, then it becomes, you know, actually a pitch. The next level is it becomes sound. It becomes a note, a pitch. And then you speed that up from sound, it becomes light. And so it's all connected, I believe, to nature and rhythm, because rhythm exists whether we are tuned into it or not. The planets are in rhythm, our bodies are in rhythm, the seasons are in rhythm. There's always some form of rhythm. So how we tune into that rhythm is really interesting. It's always been interesting to me, and how it relates to you know, the way music especially. But yeah, so with music, there's a lot that you can understand as far as the heartbeat being one. I think that's one of the reasons why we're so innately in tune with music and rhythm, and how we're so connected with it, because the heartbeat has this strong and soft pulse, right? And that's kind of like a backbeat in rock and roll. Like strong, soft, strong, strong and weak, I should say. But nonetheless, we're all connected by things that, you know, our breath. There's certain instruments that we connect to, like maybe the voice, the human voice. It can be so soothing to us. We respond to it. Sometimes when we hear instrumental music, it's one flavor, but when we hear music with a voice in it, our ears are tuned, we perk up and we latch on to what's being said. And the same can be said for something like maybe a flute or a saxophone, because those instruments are vocal-like, you know, and we all have that breath and that pulse in our heart. And so I think that's at the core, that's why we relate to music.
I appreciate that. I was thinking about throughout my life, if I was to reflect back, or on the radio station or on Sirius, I will hear a song and it'll transport me back to grade school, high school, college, dating,
Yeah.
different experiences of excitement, calm, melancholy. And it's fascinating how music will transport us in those different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. But once again, like the brain looking to make patterns out of things, it's a collection of maybe different notes that are chosen that create that mood in succession. And there's all kinds of things like tension and release going on that really make this music kind of have this contrast and push and pull our ear. It may be going by so fast that we don't really understand what's going on, but at the core, you know, that's what's going on. I'll play you a little example of what I mean by that.
Please.
So this tension and release idea is even illustrated in like a simple scale. I got my little keyboard here on my phone. But if I got, let's see if I can play this here. But if I can just play a simple scale. So right there, I'm already hearing a little bit of a push and a pull with certain notes that are like leading it back to like resolution, especially the seventh note. So I just played 8 notes, but 1, 2, not really much going on. 1, 2, 3. The brain's forming a little bit of a pattern. Oh, what's next? 1, 2, 3, 4. Just that little bit of notes. It's already starting to figure out what's going on there. But if I go to that 7th note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if I left it there, your brain would be like, oh, what's more? There's got to be more. Resolve it. 8. Bottom. Resolve.
Yeah, you left us hanging for a moment there.
Right. You leave it hanging.
There's an expectation.
Yeah, well, there's definite like tension and release going on in the way we group these notes and these chords, and so we stack notes together. We're getting these chords, and these chords. There's a major chord, like more of a happy, they say, move one note. More of a sad, like a minor, and then the question mark chord. There's like a augmented chord, and it's got like this question mark sound, like what's happening. So there's all kinds of ways to group these notes together, and that's kind of what's going on under the hood, where we have certain groupings of notes, certain chords that are evoking different emotions. And there's obviously a lot more nuance to it, but at the core, that's what's happening. That we add in rhythm, we add in texture and timbre, and then it becomes style, and then next thing you know, you have all these genres of music, from something that's really hypnotic, like a modern maybe dance track, to something that's more really open and has a lot of dynamics, like a piece of classical music. And so all these textures and timbres are really what's making music work.
But I appreciate you, as you said, sharing what's under the hood, or in Oz, where you pull the curtain back and kind of give the reveal of what's really going on there. I want to share with you some of the health benefits that I pulled up related to this. And you spoke to it in terms of how certain music you feel happier with. Others, you might feel more somber. But the music that the brain attaches to that makes you feel happier, there's actual reports, scientific reports, of how it releases dopamine.
Yeah.
Also how various other experiences of joy, sadness, fear can come through it, as I think about the different notes that you hit there. But there's all these studies that talk about it improving mood, reducing stress, lessening anxiety, increasing performance with exercise, improving memory. I mean, easing pain, all these incredible benefits to music. And it just comes through, as you said, how it stimulates the brain in different ways. And so it really can be a wonderful elixir for this time to be able to have that kind of an experience.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that it's important to note that even stuff that's not music can be really healing, like the ocean sounds, or I've been sleeping to the ocean sound. It's really calming for me. But
you talked about the bird song. I mean, in the early morning, I love waking up and recognizing the bird song and just the play of their communication.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you shared something about the harmonic series, or the fingerprint music, and if you could share a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So what's really cool is every time you strike a note, let's just say on a piano, you're hearing one note, but there's actually some complex vibrations going on. You're not necessarily hearing all of that stuff, but that becomes like the fingerprint. It's called the harmonic series, or the upper partials, or basically it helps tell if it's a woodwind instrument or a stringed instrument. Every instrument has their own unique timbre, and they may be playing the exact same note, but that information your brain picks up and says, oh, that's a saxophone. Oh, that's a clarinet. Oh, that's a guitar, right? Although they're playing the same note. But the harmonic series is really interesting. If you have the experience of being next to a bell or a gong, you'll hear one strong note, but then as you hear around it, there'll be a series of other notes. Kind of, you can hear like multiple pitches going on with one instrument, one note. And so that's all these complex vibrations going on. And the harmonic series is something that's really, it's always there. It's always present. So it also leads into this talk about analog and digital, how there's even order. It's going even further, but even order and odd order harmonics. So in nature, there's the even order of harmonics that are occurring, and digital's trying to represent those frequencies and vibrations, and it has to do it by stair stepping and not having a pure sine wave. So therefore there's an odd order harmonics. So that's why people are wondering, why does it feel a little cold or not as warm? It has to do with with nature and physics, with the even and odd order harmonics. So that stuff is always happening. Like I said, we're tuned into rhythm and nature naturally. That's going on in the physical world. It's a matter of, I guess, how in tune we are with it and how we can manipulate it to work for us in our lives. Playing music, like you said, that makes us feel, evoke different emotions, make us feel happy, or if we want to feel a little pensive or a little, we hear something maybe not necessarily sad, but something that's got a different type of feeling that we want to play out.
So Armando, to that point, I mean, you're a musician, perform all the time, you produce. Um, as I go to a concert, you guys take us through a particular ride. Uh, what's behind that? What are you trying to achieve as you put on a musical production, so to speak, a concert?
Yeah. So, yeah, choice of music, like we're talking about the shaping the mood or the feeling that we're getting. That goes on in a concert, in the order, maybe the order of the music that we're going to play. Like you're making your own playlist, if you will.
Yes.
You know, if you're going to make a playlist, if you're just throwing in your favorite songs and you're putting them in random order, then you may have some happy accidents that happen along the way as you're in your car on a long road trip. But if you're coming in to cultivate a mood in a concert, maybe you can illustrate it this way. We want to take you in and bring you maybe some excitement up front, and then maybe bring it down a little bit so we can bring it back up. But there's going to be a peak somewhere, and somehow we want to figure out a way to end it and hand it off to, to have this nice, beautiful experience. So all that's craft, and it's all well thought of in, like, let's say a rock concert, pop concert, any concert, it's all the same. How we're choosing the order of music and shaping the experience, essentially.
I love it. I really appreciate it. I think I will hear music in a different way. So leaving us from here in this conversation, anything that we should look to or listen to, music to our ears, moving forward, what would you want to offer us from today forward that we might want to hear differently or explore differently with our ears or experience?
Yeah. I thought about this. There's a great series we can look up on YouTube called How Music Works by Howard Goodall. It's, just fascinating from a non-musician perspective, but it goes and breaks down all these really, complex musical ideas and concepts. But it's for musicians, but it's for anyone who just has an appreciation of wanting to know how under the hood how this all works and the history behind it, and it's really interesting. But I would say I'm always challenging myself to go to the other side of the dial, other playlists, other stations that I purposefully don't get a chance to listen to or don't naturally gravitate, because I always want to learn new things and learn new sounds. But I would challenge. Yeah, I would challenge. I had someone once challenge me to say, think of the music that you typically try to stay away from, and then go to it just for a little bit and to explore around there, and maybe you'll figure out why you don't like it, or maybe you'll be surprised that you'll find some commonality and something that you can appreciate it. And I certainly have done that with a lot of music where I just didn't get it at first, and then over time it was like, wow, this is amazing. I'm so glad that now I get it. And not all music you have to get right away. But so yeah, as far as the mindfulness, I would work on creating maybe some playlists that evoke mood. And you may be doing that already, but be a little bit more mindful and looking up maybe search terms of, like, what are songs that are good for relaxation? What are songs that are good for energy and working out? What are songs that are good for sleep? And whatever it is that we want to be mindful of and cultivate this experience.
That's wonderful. I didn't necessarily share this with you in advance, but I wonder if you want to leave us with any kind of a musical experience.
Yeah, let's do that. So I love to play the bass. I brought my bass here. So I'll just have some fun with playing some different grooves. I'm going to maybe change the rhythm a little bit of the drum, how the bass and the drum, and how it just changes the feel of how I play with the drums. Let's see if we can get this going. I'm gonna switch it up now. All right. So I got the same key, same notes. I'm just trying to change it up now, a little bit of a different feel. Anyway, don't know exactly what I was trying to get to there. Just playing around, having some fun, and experimenting with different rhythms, like I was talking about, what I was hearing with a different rhythm, and trying to make
I
groove.
experience it differently too. Toe tapping, a little bit of energy, and then I kind of my body kind of naturally moved, organically moved a little bit different based on how you brought it through.
Yeah.
Armando, this has been a pleasure. Thank
Thank you.
you. Really
Be
appreciate
well.
sharing your wisdom and expertise. Thank you for joining us today.
Anytime.
Pleasure. And to all of you that joined us, thank you very much. And until next week, please be well. Thanks, Armando.
Take care.